today and next Sunday we're calling Stewardship Sundays. Now, when we say stewardship, that means we're going to at some point be talking about money. Yeah. There's a lot to go over with you. But first, today is also the feast of the dedication of the Lateran Basilica. So let me give you some context for the whole thing. Got to go back 2,000 years. In year 42 AD, Peter left Israel and went to Rome. Why Rome? The capital of the ruling power of the Mediterranean, and said, that's where I have to evangelize, in the capital, and spread out from there. So this is just less than 10 years after Jesus died. He went to Rome and spent the rest of his life there. Martyred about 20 years later, crucified upside down. He chose upside down because he said, I'm not worthy to die the same way Jesus did, turn me upside down. But when he got there, crucified, for 270 years, the Christian church in Rome suffered through terrible persecutions. You've heard about them being eaten by animals and crucified and burned and all the other things that they did. St. Paul was beheaded right around the same time as St. Peter, actually. And interestingly enough, the more they were persecuted, the more people became Christian because of the witness of those who had the faith and those who died, and for many, the lack of fear that they showed, the commitment to something bigger than themselves. But part of what they had to do was celebrate masses in their homes or down in the catacombs, hoping not to be caught there. There were no churches, no buildings, no nothing. But they had something that was absolutely critical and precious to who they were. Without church buildings, nothing built yet, they fully and absolutely understood completely, we are the church. That's it. They understood. Who is the church? Well, that's us. We're the ones who follow Jesus. We're the Christians. We're the church. They got that. And then in the year 313, the Emperor Constantine put out the Edict of Milan, making Christianity the national religion and legalizing it. And suddenly, persecution is over. And right around that time, the Laterani family gave the land right outside the walls of the city to the church then, to the people. And within 10 or 12 years, the Lateran Basilica was built. And, it's rightly called the mother of all Catholic churches because it was the first. It was the first. And actually, it was the Pope's church in Rome until sometime in the 1300s as they built St. Peter's at the Vatican. But that was the Pope's church. For our time, there has been a very subtle shift. And it happens so slowly that we didn't quite notice, but you look back and you notice. Because when we say we now are thinking is not necessarily, everybody knows the words, but on our thinking, it's not we are the church as, oh, that's my church over there. That's my parish over there. That's where I go on Sunday. And it's kind of like, that's my church instead of we are the church. And that's happened all over the world because we have church buildings over and rightly so. But we really do need to get back to that whole sense of who are we? We are the church, with or without buildings. With or without buildings. That's who we are, and that's how we have to identify. Now, if you're like me, I don't know. I try not to worry, but our country and our world seems so dark right now. Do you not feel it? I mean, don't you feel it just with the anger and the hatred and the violence and the shooting and the threats of war and terror? I mean, just everything. And at the same time, people say, we want peace. Okay, but we want peace, but Jesus, we don't want you. It makes no sense. How can you have peace if you reject the one who brings peace? the fount of peace, the one, the one who has peace to give to the world, and you reject him, how can you say at the same time, we want peace? It makes no sense. Which is why he was very clear to us that you have to be light to the world. You have to be. My people, believe me, have to be the light that the world sees, and not by our anger and not by our being dumb, but by attracting people the same way the first Christians did. Not giving into that nonsense, and just by the witness of their lives and what they were committed to. That is what we have to do. Now let me give you some numbers now, because we've been working hard. Well, we've been working hard. I'll give you numbers after to do that. When I got here, started fairly 7.5 years ago now. Started right very early. Those I do a lot of road biking. From that big accident I had. Father and John and I very early started riding down to Seal Beach Tuesdays and Thursdays. And not much talking when you're riding, but we would get down there and there's a place called Javatini. I don't know if you know Seal Beach, coffee place. And we'd sit there for about 45 minutes and have coffee before we rode home. And during that time, what do you think we talked about? What are the needs? What can we do? What can we do to make ourselves, make St. Philip a light shining in Pasadena? What can we do? And so out of that, those discussions that we would have for a long time came a lot of things. One of them was friends in faith. And we realized, we are good, this country or in Pasadena, we are really good at forming social communities. Really good at that. Making friends, and let's have dinner, and let's go to this party. We're really good at social communities. We are not so good at spiritual communities. Places where you can share your faith and talk about it and not be told, shh, you can't talk about that, but tell what's inside you and what you believe and how you think that should affect the world, and on, forming spiritual communities to build each other up. And that's what Friends in Faith is supposed to do, help us build these spiritual communities so that identification is there again. We're the church. You want to get a sense of what that's like? I read the letters to the editor this morning about the Dodgers winning the World Series. What do you think people said? They didn't say the Dodgers won. They said, we won. We won. I'm thinking, okay, none of us were on that team. But it's not just, they're the Dodgers. That is us. We're LA, and the Dodgers are part of us, and we won. Same feeling we should have for the church. So, Friends in Faith, and I got to say, God bless our people and Friends in Faith, because for the majority, I think when I talk to everybody, and I think they get it. I get it. We're the church, because they form these communities to talk about and say, and it's critical to people telling me, thank you for that. But it's not enough just to have it. It's enough to spread it. Not just to say, okay, we got it. It's enough to start inviting people and say, let me tell you what this has done for us. Something else we did, started talking about, this is crazy. How many parents have said, my children don't go to church anymore? Practically every parent I know. And they're looking and saying, we have PCC across the street, we have Caltech a block away, and they're not being touched. Why aren't we doing something about that? And so we started the Newman Center. And through our Newman Center, hundreds, maybe thousands of college students and young adults have passed through, and still continuing to grow, and we're adding more to it, and more pieces of it as we go along. I got to tell you, the ones who come to the Newman Center also, they get it. They get it. Before they say we belong to St. Philip's, they say we are the church. They get it. And we keep, Father John and I keep talking about what are the needs. One of the needs we saw is people say, we're busy on Sunday, we're busy on Sunday, we're busy on Sunday. What's the solution? A later Mass, 7 p.m. Mass. By 7 p.m., everything is done. And so no excuse not to come to church together. And believe it or not, the ones who wanted to step up and say, we want to be the ones who serve the Mass. Eucharistic ministers, lectors, team captain, sacristan, ushers, all of that. Guess who wanted to do it? The young adults, the Newman Center. They wanted to take over that because yeah, that's what they identify with now. So that was happening. Some of the other things that happened, I started asking, what has this parish ever done to show how much we value our Spanish-speaking community? What have we given them? We ever speak? And guess what the answer was? Nothing. Zero. So what was the solution? Make the chapel the Marian chapel that honors first Our Lady of Guadalupe, to say, no, you're important to us, and along with you, we honor Mary. That's the solution. During COVID, we need to pray for safety of people, so we started adoration. And it was only supposed to be during COVID, but it goes on and on and on, 5 days a week. And people are here all day long, praying and praying. One other need, realized early on that 1 hour of confessions on Saturday wasn't meeting the need. So again, Father John and I talk, what's the solution? The solution is a little more work for us, but that's okay. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights, starting at 5 until we finish. Last Wednesday, supposed to end at 7, but we were here for 3.5 hours. Yeah, 3.5 hours. People just kept coming. And during that time, trying to meet the needs of people, during that time, it's amazing. There is not a week that goes by, I don't think, when I don't have someone who comes in that says, I haven't been to confession for 20 years or 30 years. What's the first thing you say to somebody who comes in and says that? What's the first thing you say? Welcome back. Welcome back. And 30 years is not a record, so don't feel guilty. Okay? And so lots and lots of things to make us a little light that shines at Patsy and tries to draw people back to Him. That's where we're going on. Now, here is our dilemma. Here is our big dilemma. Last year we ran, first time ever, a deficit of $143,000. Yeah, it was a big one. And trying to figure out why. Was it the fires? Maybe. Some of our big donors lost their homes. Was it that? Part of it may be that people don't carry cash around anymore. And so the collection comes around and, well, I don't have cash. What can I do? And who knows? Who knows what all the reasons are? I can tell you this, something about the parish that you may not know, and this is the only parish I've ever been in that is like this. Years ago, all fundraising was given over to the school. And we have a great school. We have a great school, 550 kids, and they're doing wonderfully well. But, blessed are the children, the Red Tie Bash, Father Joe Scholarship Fund, and so forth. All of the fundraising was given over to them. And on the parish side here, we exist solely and only on the Sunday collection. The only parish I've ever been in that doesn't fundraise. And at some point we have to do something about that. But we depend on you completely because we are the church. And so whatever the reason for this deficit was, we're going to come back next week and ask you to make commitments. And we're joining the real world with Google Pay and Apple Pay and Zelle and what else and something. Yeah. But anyway, there's going to be next week asking for a commitment from people. And it's not very complicated. A 10% increase for whatever you give. 10% increase. So if you give $20 a week, it would be $22. Are you even going to notice it? But over the course of a year, makes a huge difference for us. Huge, huge, huge difference. So be prepared. Tonight, this week, all you need to do is pray. And later on, our business manager, Cord, is going to be here at the end of Mass to talk about that just a little bit more. But next week, we'll be asking for commitment. So just think about what you can do. I'll give you an old joke and finish with this, okay? There was a meeting one day, and the meeting was a $50 bill, a $20 bill, and a $1 bill. The $50 bill is just so happy. And I said, what are you so happy about? Well, I've been all over the world. I've seen 50 countries and traveled on cruises and boats and airplanes, blah, blah, blah. And life has been great. And the $20 bill says, well, I haven't traveled everywhere, but I've seen most of the U.S. and it's been really a nice life. And the $1 bill, I just sit there, tears coming down her eyes. I say, well, what's wrong with you? And he says, the only thing I've seen is the inside of a Catholic church. Next week, we'll ask for commitment, okay? Thank you.